Okay, so I'm here with Robert Lopez, and Robert is one of our largest dealers, works for a company, or owns the company called Soul Energy. And Robert just has an amazing story of entrepreneurship, really has an amazing story about where he grew up, where he came from, and really that helped him shape the type of person that he's become. So I'm excited for this podcast. I know this is a podcast that I've been wanting to do, is to interview and talk to Robert, because I really know that he's going to be able to bring a tremendous amount of wealth and to all of you guys. So Robert, first just tell us a little bit about you, where it is that you came from, and that. Just briefly tell us about you, and then I'll ask a few questions.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here in front of you, of course. And so I was born in Asunción, Paraguay.
Paraguay.
For
us,
Paraguay.
For us English speakers.
For you guys.
Us gringos.
And gringos. So I was born in a common third world country, very, very poor.
We'll talk a little bit about your upbringing.
Yeah.
Talk about how you were raised.
So a lot of people ask me, how is it that you have or develop your mindset? So if I have to put it in words, my first day in this planet, in our planet, my memory plays exactly like this. Waking up at 3 a.m., very, very scared. I believe I was about 4 or 5 years old. So waking up at 3 a.m. to my drunk father coming in, and I remember this perfectly. It's crazy. But I remember seeing the car. I remember seeing the lights, and I knew my father was getting home, and I was terrorized. I was super scared because I knew what was going to happen next.
As a 4-year-old, you knew what was going to happen next.
That was my first memory of this planet, but I already knew what was happening because it's been happening since I was born. And this is where I mean society sometimes robs us of our true identity. So my father gets home, and luckily I can talk about these things now because I have overcome a lot of fear. But my dad gets home and abuses my mom physically and mentally, and then he does the same thing to us. Now, my father,
So this happened in this instance that you're remembering of
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. So gets home, abuses my mom mentally, physically, and then he does the same thing to us because, of course, me and my siblings, we were trying to stop my father from doing that to my mom, and he just physically abuses us as well, and starts yelling, and it's just something happened to me at that very same day that I said, this isn't true. This can't be it. See, Brian, a lot of people have the memories of remembering what they wanted for Christmas, what they wanted to ask Santa Claus. What I wanted when I was 4 and 5 years old was to escape, to leave my family, to get out of that environment. That was what I truly wanted.
At that early of an age.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because I knew that was not, what we were living was, it did not make sense to me. As my siblings, not now anymore, but my siblings always remember me as a very angry kid. Very angry and with a very short temper. And of course, because since I was born, I came into a world of disaster, abuse, alcoholism, lies, verbal abuse, and then poverty, and of course I had all the reasons to be angry, but I didn't really understand what was going on. So there are videos of me of being a kid and all my siblings playing or doing something, and I was always distant. I was always by myself, hanging around by myself, because I was so angry at life. And I think that's just so unfortunate. Yeah, and I'm getting emotional right now because I just think of a kid that could be going through those things and wondering, how is it that I'm here? And I told my father actually this recently because I can now look him in the face and talk to him about my feelings. and I couldn't for the first 24 years of my life. I told him that, and I'm writing a book, and I told my dad, Dad, I want to tell you about a chapter in my book. And he said, and he reads, as soon as I saw the light of your car coming in, I knew we were about to get beat. I knew disaster was coming. But the second you left the house, I already missed you. Because
Whoa.
I did. You know, I missed my father like you wouldn't believe. As soon as he walked out of the door. But then when he would come back, I was already hiding in my room because we were so terrified. So that's the heart of a young soul that truly has love and doesn't understand how to share it, you know? And that's really what I think completely changed my mind about so many different things in life since a young age.
Yeah, what a unique, I mean, you think about that paradox. You have a father who you're scared of coming home because you're scared that you're going to get beat.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, when he leaves, you miss him because you want him there.
Absolutely.
Just, it's a young boy that's wanting so badly his dad to love him and appreciate him and wanting that acceptance. That is just it's like I said, just what a paradox that you have there. Man, I'm amazing, Robert, that you went through that and have gone through that. And I know that there are other people who have gone through that. You know, I never went through things like that in my life, but hearing that, just my heart goes out to you. And knowing that there are people probably that you can help, that you can touch, and that you can teach because of what it is that you've experienced. So talk a little bit about, because I know you've shared with me, that was such a difficult home environment to grow up in, and you just painted that picture very accurately. How did you get through that? And what you talked about selling, what are they, little eggs on the streets?
Quail eggs. My first.
I don't know what those are, but
Yeah.
talk about that.
So my first business.
Your first business.
My first company. It started in 1998.
So you're 7.
I was 7 years old. And there was this big expo that we always went to every single year in the whole country of Paraguay, that everybody would go to this place. It's a big expo where they bring horses and you know, Belgian blue cows, you know, like exotic, not exotic animals, but
just a lot of different
things. You know? I decided to get quails because
like quails, the actual birds.
Yeah, I used to breed them. There's actually on my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram, which I think everybody should follow me. This is a great time for, you know, self-promotion. It's actually Robert Lopez _DG. If anybody's watching. So my first company, I decided to get 9 quails, 8 females and 1 male. Because Brian, I always noticed that the people that had freedom and control were the people with money.
Okay.
At a very young age. I noticed that because I'd have little classmates and other family members that were so much better well off than when we were. And I didn't necessarily have to put it with the emotion of being happy, because I knew it had nothing to do with happiness. This is where people get this so mistakenly wrong. I just knew I needed to be wealthy in my life to be able to do more and to be able to help or inspire or whatever you want to call it. I just knew I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be wealthy.
Okay.
So
9 quails.
9 quails. And I go, if I breed them, I can go and sell and make money. There were about 7 dispensaries in our little town. Mm-hmm. So I went door to door. I went dispensary to dispensary selling my quail eggs.
And they would buy
Because, absolutely, quail eggs are about this big. Probably half of a regular egg, maybe less. But they're actually like 5 or 10 times more nutritious.
Oh.
Like they have more nutrition. They're just better quality than an actual chicken egg.
Okay.
Yeah. But I had that intuition, you know, of I need to work on my on financial stability, and I need to work and I need to hustle, because there was no other way around it.
It's amazing, because at 7 years old, I think I was into Star Wars. Maybe there was a cartoon called He-Man that was really big at the time.
He-Man.
I was into all that stuff, but selling quail eggs and trying to figure out how to make money, that was just not something that I ever thought about. So that's amazing that you had that. Let's talk a little bit about your journey to the U.S. now, if you wouldn't mind. How did you get here? So you're in Paraguay.
I'm in Paraguay. So my family has been coming here for a long time. In fact, my oldest sister, she is an American citizen. She was born here, and then my parents decided to go back to South America. But I've been here exactly 13 years, half my life. I'm 26 now. I've lived 13 years in Paraguay and 13 years here in the U.S. This just happened actually 2 months ago in December. December 22nd was my anniversary.
You've officially been in the U.S. longer.
Officially half my life.
Okay.
Which I thought it was crazy. Actually, to add a note to that, my wife and I were coming from Costa Rica, from our honeymoon. On my anniversary, I was going through customs again, 13 years after, but in Colorado.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. Like, one of those things that I don't believe in coincidences anymore. Like, certain things happening when you appreciate them and study them. And, I mean, it's amazing. Yeah. It's like life gives you more reasons to be excited and happy and appreciative of everything than anything else.
Yeah.
And if you just catch the moments, there's a lot that you can learn from that.
Yeah.
And this is going to get into the real reason of how I got here. We came here with tourist visas. And I think it's ironic that I'm saying that right now, standing in Trump Tower. You know, just so that people know, I'm sitting in Trump Tower right now, and I have no correlation with hate or love, whatever. But coming with a tourist visa, and only for 2 weeks, we overstay our visa. We were clueless about that. My parents
weren't. You're just a boy. I
was 13 years old. I had no idea. I was excited to come to the U.S.
You're in California, right?
California. Okay. Landed at LAX. December 22nd of 2004. Anyway, we overstay our visa and we are undocumented. I lived in this country for 8 years, undocumented.
Oh, can't imagine what that's like.
But, so we come here, we overstay our visas. My mom was not granted a visa because the embassy noticed that, you know, my family was already coming here, and they go, you know, I think the blinking light went on, and they said, hey, I think they're trying to, you know, leave the country. So my mom was never granted a visa because we were here as tourists, and then they told me, hey, your kids had a 2-week visa, and they're not back yet. Well, that was the first time in my life that I've been away from my mom for about 8 or 9 months, I believe.
Oh.
It was the hardest thing that I think I've ever gone through at that point in my life. Because we were so close to my mom, it was unreal. For many confusing ways or reasons. So my mom actually had to, after 9 months that she did not get a visa, she did what so many people did and do, and decided to come here illegally. And she had to go from South America to El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico, and cross the border in Texas.
Wow.
And that's another thing.
To be with you and the kids.
To be with us, to come back here to see us again. And by the way, when she left, I remember the phone call, and she said, I will see you again. And that was so tough because we did not know about my mom for the next month. We didn't know if she was dead. We didn't know if she made it. But it took her about a month to get here. And I still remember this. We got a phone call. We were at that time we were going to a school in the valley, in Sun Valley in California, with one of my family cousins. She was a teacher there, so we were actually staying at her house. Just the 3 siblings, my older brother, and my twin sister. I have a twin sister. We were staying with one of my cousins, and we get a phone call, and we said, your mom is on her way. We left school. I mean, actually, we left the premises, and my mom was coming in a car.
Oh.
And that was the first time I seen her in 9 months, after not hearing her voice for a month, and she was still dirty. Like dirty clothes. Wow. She didn't even take a shower. She came straight from the border to see us and to give us a hug, and it was crazy, man.
I can't even imagine what that reuniting would have been like.
It was incredible. I went through a long time without really understanding what an undocumented immigrant is in this country.
You were just a kid.
I was just a kid, so our education was a lot more advanced than normal, not normal, typical people here. So I actually became, my siblings and I, we became sophomores at 13 years old. So we were in 10th grade, we were 13.
Did you speak English at all?
No, none, absolutely none. But I was always good at math. I mean, my math was never an issue. I hated school, by the way, my entire life. I am not a school person. You know, I love education. I just don't like the traditional way of educating.
So how do you, I mean, well, I can't imagine being at school and not being able to speak English with the kids and how that would have been.
It was the best thing that could happen to me, because just like my parents abusing and all that, it was also the best thing that could happen to me. People making fun of you helps you. Most people look at that as a wrong way of doing things, but when you go through those times and you really understand it, those people are helping you more than the people that want to take you there, but they don't know how to. You know what I'm saying?
Like, no, help me.
Okay, so my first day in high school, Royal High School in Simi Valley, California. We were in ESL classes, English as a second language. But my last period was math. And I remember those days, my mom had written in a piece of paper, "I don't speak English." Right? A little note, and gave it to each one of my siblings and said, "You hand this out to your teachers, so they don't abuse. I mean, they don't.
So they know.
So they know." Wow. So because all my other periods were full of other kids that were also in ESL. My last period is math. So math, everybody was mixed. You know, they did, because obviously you don't need to know English to learn math or to do math. Anyway, it was the first day of school, so the teacher says, everybody needs to stand up, come in front of the classroom, and introduce yourselves. I didn't know what she was saying, but once it started happening, I knew what she meant, and I start sweating bullets. I go, no way, this is not happening. So when my turn comes and she reads my name, so I understand my name, I go, and everybody was just like, oh, okay, just another kid. But I go straight to her and I hand her the note, and I said, and she grabs it. And this is when it's very confusing. Like I said, there's very fortunate and unfortunate things that happen to you. It's all about how you take it. She looks at me in a very racist way, Brian, and says, I don't care if you don't speak English. You're going to introduce yourself. And even me saying that racist right now, maybe she wasn't. That's how I interpret it. Mm-hmm. And I start crying because I don't know what to say. And I'm nervous, I'm shaking, I cry. People are laughing. I don't know how many students there were. Let's say there were 40. 39 of them were cracking up. And one guy that was Mexican comes up and says, buddy, let me help you out. What's your name? And he helped me out.
And he says that
his name is Carlos. I will never forget that man. I will never forget that guy. We don't talk anymore, but I'll never forget him. He helped me out. And but I went home crying that day, and I told my parents I wanted to get the heck out of this place. But then something hit me, and at that moment I said, before I quit, this is one of the things that helped me throughout my entire life. I said, before I quit, I'm gonna get great at this. So at that moment, I went home and I said, I'm going to learn English without anybody knowing, and the next time they see me, I will be able to speak to them.
Wow.
So this is not a joke. I have it in this is one of the few achievements that I feel proud of academic-wise. I have a diploma from Royal High School of learning ESL the fastest. Since the school started, I learned ESL the fastest. A lot of people now say, hey, I didn't even know you could speak Spanish. Sometimes I don't have an accent. Maybe when I don't have to do it, but I can easily remove it or add it.
How did you do it? How did you learn English so quickly?
I was so pissed. I was so angry, so sad. I was crying. So I get home and I turn on the TV and I go directly to Disney Channel. And I said, I'm going to mimic how they talk. I'm going to learn how they pronunciate the words. And that's what I did. So I became a huge fan of Hannah Montana at the time. The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I'm just naming shows. and Nickelodeon, and I was like, I'm watching this until I know how they speak, and I was always studying their movements and studying their, you know, how they say things, and what's up, dude, like everything. I was always paying attention to the most ridiculous details of anything that happened in my life.
So you as a child, you have this traumatic experience, or this experience where you're introduced in front of a class, you're made fun of because you don't speak English, and you took that and said, I'm going to take this as an opportunity that I'm going to improve upon myself.
That's right.
And so where most kids go when they're watching TV for entertainment and just for relaxation, you're watching TV to better yourself and try to understand how to speak English. And that's amazing.
Meanwhile, other people were complaining and how they call it bitching at life.
Yeah.
You know?
So talk to me a little bit now. Now you're here in the U.S. We talked about you're undocumented, so you probably don't understand exactly what that means at that moment. What was life, or how did you start to create opportunities in your life? How did you start to better yourself? Because now we're talking about those really, really key years between 13 and now getting up, you know, all your teen years. Yeah. What did you do? What opportunities do you see in the U.S. that you didn't have maybe in South America and in Paraguay?
Since the moment I landed at LAX, I knew, I don't know, it was a weird feeling, but I knew I was home.
Really?
I knew I was home because I just saw the opportunity. I saw the opportunity, and I saw that for my way of being, my character and my personality, I guess, this is the right place to be. And I guess you could make that anywhere. But I just had that feeling that I said, hey, I am here. I might as well just make the most out of it. I'll play any sport. I swear, I am so competitive. I hate losing. And I am so proud to say it. Because I am a sore loser. Because I just put so much effort to win. And if I don't win, it's just a matter of time before I do.
Well,
and it doesn't matter what your sport is.
Well, I know your drive. By the way, my sport's football, so be careful.
No. It just takes a few months for me to practice.
No, so, I mean, I've seen you juggle a soccer ball with your feet, and I've even seen you juggle a football and do some different things. And I just know that the amount of time that it takes to master the skill that you have at your level. I mean, you'll juggle it with both feet, you'll flip it up on your head, you'll balance it down, bring it down to your nose,
hours.
Kiss the ball, and then I mean,
that's
that is hours and hours and hours and hours of practice and mess ups and failures,
failures,
mistakes and all that.
Absolutely.
That's just a little bit of a snippet I see into your entire life. It sounds like, you know, you've had all these different experiences, but you're not willing to quit. So tell me about, you go through those teen years. You succeed in sports. You graduate high school.
Yeah.
You do all these things that are really well, but you're undocumented and you're really not understanding quite fully what that means. Now you start getting into the job force and the workforce.
Yes.
What's that like?
That's when everything really changed. That's when I can, excuse my language, but everything went to, you know. But the moment comes to when I turn 16, I see everybody here in the U.S. is getting a car, right? So I didn't forget where I came from, but I'm like, okay, I'm not in Paraguay anymore. I'm in the U.S. I want a car. I'm a top athlete in my school. You know, I have good grades. I have okay grades. I don't really care for school, but I'm a hustler. I'm an entrepreneur. I've always helped my dad. I was making money, doing other things, coaching, this and that. So all my buddies were getting cars, and I go, driver's license, right? And they're getting their first car. So I go, I'm going to surprise my parents. I'm just going to surprise them, come home with a driver's license. Because I already spoke enough English to go to the DMV and get things done. So I go to the DMV. They didn't know this, by the way. And they barely found out. Because I never even told them.
Your parents, you mean?
My parents, yeah.
So you go to the DMV.
I go to the DMV. I wait in line. I look at the form. I fill out as much as I could. I get to the line. Again, white lady, of course. Blonde white lady again. She goes, hi, sweetie, how are you doing? You know, and I always say, hey, how you doing? I'm doing well. I could always tell myself through anything. And she looks at my application. Everything's going great. And then she goes, oh, sweetie, your social security number. And I go, I don't have one. Like, maybe I said, I don't even know what that is. I kind of knew what it was, but I said, oh, I don't have one. Here's my school ID. And I go, I know, sweet, but we do. What do you mean you don't have one? And I go, I don't have one. I don't know what happened in those 2 seconds because my adrenaline rush was crazy, but she just basically said, get the hell out of here. You can't get a driver's license. That's the first time I found out that I was actually undocumented.
Wow.
That I did not have the same advantages that everybody else had that had one. And that's when I started hearing all these comments about entitlement and people that were born into this and that and being illegal or undocumented. My life just took a big, dive, and it was horrible because I understood that I couldn't do anything that I actually wanted to do without those 9 digits. I think
wow.
9 digits. Was one of my lifetime goals of playing professionally soccer, football, which I did. I got to a very, very high level of actually being in the same field with the Galaxy players in Chivas USA. However, when the time came for the same thing, I was 17 years old. I was already out of high school. I was going to play for college. And I was dating my wife at the time. I go and try out, and I make the tryouts. Out of, 200 kids, 2 made it. And I was one of them. But I didn't have my social security number. So I also couldn't play professionally in the league.
Wow.
Again, my heart was broken. Then, River Plate, which is a professional team in Argentina, scouts players and calls my coach at the time and said, hey, look, send the kid from Paraguay, send them out. And I was ready. I had everything packed. I was like, I'm going. But at the time, I had my girlfriend, which is not my wife, which I knew when I met her and how everything happened again, because when I tell you the story, it's crazy. Her parents didn't even believe it, how it happened. I knew she was the one. So I didn't take it. I could have gone. But my parents also told me, look, if you go back to Argentina, you're not coming back because right now you're undocumented. They won't let you in the country. So I made the decision to leave my life dream of becoming a professional soccer player to stay here in misery, and without opportunity and without an answer of when I could actually get a work visa or a social security number or a residence or a citizenship.
I can't imagine. So tell me, how do you get through that stage in your life? So you're now out of high school.
Yeah.
You now learn you're undocumented. You have this dream to go play soccer. You can't do that. Well, you could, but you chose to stay because of the girl that you were dating who became your future wife.
Yeah.
You wanted to stay here in this country.
Yeah.
At least part of you did.
Yeah.
How do you get through that? What helps you get to the next step?
Because regardless of how hard it gets, being alive an extra day and being alive to do the things that you can naturally do great feels so much better than anything that could happen to you. And I think that's what drives me.
Wow.
To shake somebody's hand, to close a deal, to be able to talk, to communicate, to drive, to have cars, to have clothes. I have more clothes and shoes than my wife today. 13 years ago, I had none. I had one pair of moccasins, all military shoes. We had one pair of jeans and 3 t-shirts since the moment I was born until I was 13. To understand that you have that regardless of your situation, it fills me up. And I go, I know now that regardless of how hard it gets, going through it, it feels so much better than quitting.
Yeah.
Because I came to understanding that
you're the type of person that you don't quit.
No. And he gave us food. So that's the single thing that actually, I step back from when things happen to me. I step back and I analyze them. I have a bad dad or I have no dad. Which one is better? It's up to you what you decide. But I decide that having a bad dad, is better than having no dad. Right? Mm-hmm. At least in my understanding. So a lot of people complain about their parents, but I'm like, at least you have them. There are people in this world that never met their father. And you know how that feels? Because I never met any of my grandparents. So I do know how that feels.
Wow.
You know, not one. Well, actually, my grandma, but we were. I think I've seen her like 5 times in my entire life. So a lot of people talk about that, and I go, at least you know your grandparents. I never got the chance to sit down in front of my grandparents. You know. By the way, I'm driving a car too, and I even have a driver's license. So it was terrifying. Anytime I saw a cop and they got behind me or across me, the saying, your heart almost came out of your mouth, that saying happened to me every single time driving. Because it was the most, because I was hearing people getting deported.
Yeah, you think you're getting deported?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Whoa.
And I've never gotten pulled over. The funny thing is, as soon as I get my driver's license, like a couple days later, I get pulled over for the first time. And I was so proud of it. I'm like, here's my license, sir. Like, I was so happy about that, you know?
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, most people, they're getting followed by a cop and they're worried about getting a ticket.
Right.
You're being followed by a cop and you're worried about staying in the country.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. And then the terrible thing happened. I had no money. No way of how to tell this lady, hey, you know what, this whole time I've been undocumented. And how am I going to do this? So I told her finally. And she gave me 2 months for free. But then I had to leave. So I lived in my Honda Accord 2001 for a month and a half. I lived inside that car. I was homeless. 18 years old. Homeless for the first time. Maybe I was older. 19, something like that. Anyway, and I had all my clothes, everything that I could possibly fit in that car. My girlfriend at the time didn't find out for 2 weeks until I was already in there. And I had to go eat out of the dumpster of Trader Joe's in Simi Valley, California at 12 at night because if anybody's watching, there's a documentary called Diver on Netflix of Trader Joe's throwing food that is not expired. I was eating. Look, I was homeless, but I was still eating organic. That's how much class somebody could choose to have, you know? Like, being poor and being dirty has nothing to do with, they have no correlation. If you're a dirty person, it's because you're a dirty person. Money or no money makes no difference. So I was going to eat at Trader Joe's when I was homeless, living out of my Honda Accord for a month and a half. And this is something that I just recently told my dad. But that was the lowest point of my life. And I learned so much in a cold night, hugging my blanket in my car, thinking about life. Many times thinking, is this worth it? Should I kill myself? What should I keep doing? Who should I be approaching? Because I had no idea that those documents were going to arrive on time. Out of nowhere, my father-in-law actually is the first one that called me when he heard the news. Obama. Again, ironic that I'm speaking about Obama sitting on Trump's couch. He comes out with DACA, the deferred action of childhood right. What is it called? A right, something like that. Anyway, I was one of them. I was one of the candidates. By the way, Brian, on average, it took 6 months for anybody to get an approval and everything in the mail. To me, it took 1 month. Again, this is not a coincidence. It's the preparation of somebody, of the preparation of having things in order, being orderly, doing the things the way they're supposed to be done. So I submit my paperwork, it gets approved in 3 weeks, and in a month I have everything. And check this out. I apply for it, I get the approval. I was actually I had a job and a room to sleep in. So I go straight from a garage to a room without paying rent. I was able to sell the lady on, I get paid at the end of the month, so can I stay and I pay you at the end of the month? She said, yeah, that's fine. I had $0 in my bank account, actually negative. So the steps were like this. I got papers. I go straight to a hotel. I get hired with no work experience, none. I wasn't even existent, right? Because up to that point, I was an illegal alien. So I get a job. I take that to the lady. I say, hey, look, they paid me at the end of the month. Can I move in now? She goes, yes, absolutely. So my first paycheck, my first 2 weeks goes towards rent. And that's when everything started. And a lot of people, actually people that I never even talked to, started reaching out to me because I became very, very successful in a very short amount of time. And again, but I was preparing for that. I was reading books every night, studying people every night, studying mentors. I never gave up. I never said, you know what, screw this. I'm going to start working once I get them. Once I get my residence, you know. I didn't do that. I said, I'm gonna be prepared. So when the time comes, I can take off. So I work at a hotel for 3 months. Then I go into sales in the car industry. My father-in-law brings me in. I learned a lot there. Then I went to a different dealership where he wasn't there anymore. I became a manager in 3 months. Started making really good money.
And you're documented at this time?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Yeah, so I had the DACA. Again, nobody actually knew. And nobody knew that I was, nobody I went to high school with, they never knew I was, you know, undocumented.
Yeah.
All the friends that I had, they have no idea. There's a lot of people that will be shocked when they see this video because they will learn that for the first time, you know? A lot of family members didn't even know that. So then I started making really good money, okay money in the car industry because, I mean, I just became a really good salesperson, a really good closer, learned the product, built my credit. I bought 2-3 cars in 1 year. People were envious, saying all sorts of things. They're like, how are you doing this and that? Thinking I was selling drugs or whatever, not knowing I was homeless and illegal, documented only 6 months before.
Yeah. Can we talk just for a second? Tell me a little bit about the importance of having a good mentor, what that means to you, because I know that's, you love mentors out there.
Absolutely.
But why is that so important?
Because if you're not living right now your highest ideals, you should be listening to somebody that is.
Mm-hmm.
And always below you and above you.
Mm-hmm.
So mentors are like that. If you don't trust yourself, put your trust in somebody else that's doing it. That's what I've been able to do since a young age. Copying soccer tricks. Ronaldinho, very famous soccer player, he could do all the tricks. I wasn't putting the trust on me, I was putting the trust on him. But I was mimicking and studying and learning what he was doing until I could actually do it and then move forward.
Right.
So mentors to me are everything. This is why I feel like I'm 26 now, but I feel like I'm so behind of what I could actually accomplish if I had that mentorship. Again, I don't regret anything. It's already, it is what it is. But I have an understanding that most people, I think it starts so late in life.
Yeah.
You know?
So you become successful selling cars, and then you decide to start your own business in solar.
That's right.
And that's where you and I became acquainted, was when you started doing Soul Energy.
That's right, yeah.
And have been able to grow that company.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we can talk just briefly about that, what you've been able to do. And solar is an industry where there's always changes that are taking place. And you started off in California, and you were selling and installing systems there, and have done well.
Yeah.
And you're now selling and installing systems right here in Las Vegas and continuing to grow your business, which is absolutely awesome. But I think what I'm taking from this story is the true American dream, in a way, where you started off in Paraguay in a lifestyle that was extremely difficult, that most can't even imagine actually truly happens to a young child.
Yeah.
And then comes here at a very young age, not knowing that you're illegal being here, growing up learning English, and then after that finally becoming and getting your documents, becoming documented through an incredible program that was put in place, and really helping, then starting being able to become an incredible car salesman, then starting your own business and becoming an entrepreneur and starting to develop and generate wealth. Enough wealth that you're, bottom line, able to provide for you and now your wife, who was your high school sweetheart, which is absolutely amazing. And look at the blessing that you have in that, just in that alone. Absolutely. I think a lot of people, they think in terms of, hey, what is wealth? What is success? Well, that story that you just shared, to me, is wealth and success. Being able to provide for your loved ones is the most important thing that you can possibly do. So that's amazing that you're able to have that journey. So I want to just for a second, you're 26 years old. What are your weekly checks that are coming into Soul Energy? Do you know how much they are right now? Let's say it. What's the number?
About 17, 20 grand.
$17,000 to $20,000 a week
Yeah.
that you're making on the solar.
And we just started,
efforts.
by the way.
Yeah.
We're starting to ramp things up.
Well, that's awesome. Just starting to wrap it up. But $17,000 to $20,000 a week is amazing, considering the story you just laid out for us.
Yeah.
Robert, when I was 26 years old, and I grew up in this country, right, and all that, my wife and I and 2 kids were living off $500 a month. $500 a month. So
I think we spend that in dinner now, like
yeah.
a couple times a week.
So what I want to tell you is that your story is an incredible success story. It's an incredible transition from the life that you had to the wealth you've been able to create now. What an amazing story, and I appreciate you sharing that. And then also thank you for sharing so much about mentors and what they mean to you. So now just to kind of wrap things up,
Yeah.
if you wouldn't mind, just what advice or counsel would you give someone in a situation where they've come to this country, they're not from here, they're nervous, they're scared, they don't know how to make it,
Yeah.
and what advice would you give them to help them know that you can make it, that you can have your dreams,
Yeah.
you can create wealth, you can create success?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What advice, what would you say to that person?
Through my eyes, I know this is my world. Nobody else's. This is why I don't care if it's Trump or this or that. Who cares, really? It's what you do about it. You know? I love Obama for giving me the opportunity, or the administration. Whatever else is going on with this other guy, just understand that is not your world. I mean, it's not their world. It's yours. So you have the power, 100% responsibility and power and duty to change your life the way you want to live it, regardless of what happens, without blaming anybody of circumstances. It's 100% up to you.
Wow, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Robert. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you for having me, and pleasure
Thanks.
talking to you.